All right, Beyond the Gates fans, here we go with episode 65. And man, oh man, solid 8 out of 10. I just watched episode 65 and 66 back to back this morning. You know what? I might make a post in the community tab about this, but overall, I haven't seen anyone, complain about this, but it stands to reason that you understand that I have a life outside of YouTube. Yes, YouTube is my main source of income, but eBay is also my side hustle. I've been really busy with that this week, and good money's coming in because a lot of things have been coming up. Like I've needed a new set of tires for my car. Um, just had a huge grocery bill because I don't know about you. I'm the kind of person where if I get groceries or whatever, I pretty much buy everything I need at once to stay stocked up for a while, amongst other expenses. So overall, I think because of the fact that rather than compilation videos, even if my episode review is a couple of days late, I will still give you a review for each separate episode. But this is just a quick announcement that in the event, in the chance that, wow, Jeremy didn't upload Tuesday's review and it's Thursday, that's just because I'm doing other things. But you'll still get your review. So I just want to keep that, in the forefront. But with that being said, I did enjoy this episode. So Naomi and I don't know if it was the hair or the green dress with the part that, went around her neck. Naomi was looking fine in this episode. Yeah, but she brings her grandma a gift. And oh man, if only she knew. Poor Naomi. She didn't know. The fact that I think because she, if I remember correctly, wasn't a couple episodes ago where Naomi met Tracy, one of her grandmother's group mates, for the first time, and she was geeking out about it. And I think due to the excitement, she found, an old flyer from the Articulates at a show, and she gifted it to her grandma, but she couldn't understand why she kind of just fled. But then she eventually came back and explained that, you think you know me, but you really don't know who I was at that time. And Naomi says, "Well, hey, I got a meeting with my dad. I could reschedule, and we can just have brunch together or something." And I just love how close Naomi is to her grandma. I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, Anita's like, "Look, I'm fine. It's okay, and I appreciate it, and I'll keep in touch with you. Don't worry, I'll be fine." So then that leads to her pulling like a Bruce Wayne, going to the desk and then opening one of the drawers of the desk, and then underneath, the top of the lid of that specific mini drawer, there's a secret compartment which holds a letter from Barbara. Now, I've talked with some people about this, and if you remember, I believe I did a video on Monday because somebody told me that apparently, like in Canada, the episodes air early, so that's why that clip was circulating of the final message, if you will, that the fourth member of the Articulates wrote and sent to Anita. And in that video, I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to post any clips or anything. I'm just going to tell you what happens. And a lot of people have been saying, "Hey, Jeremy, that voice kind of sounds like June's voice." And I don't know if I buy that. I don't really think that. I mean, sure, it could be a quote unquote younger June with the voice performed by a different actress, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't think so because given the fact that what we learned in episode 66 about Barbara's family, I don't think June is Barbara. So that's just my opinion. But yeah, Anita's acting as she was reading the letter was just phenomenal. And, due to Anita not having her girls back after Dante kicked her out of the group, that's when she opted to self-delete. And now Anita, we learned that she's been carrying this guilt for decades. And trust and believe, I have a lot more that I want to say, but that will have to wait to the episode 66 review, which I'm going to record directly after this one, so don't worry. Now, aside from this, we go over to Bill's office and Tomas is having a conversation with him, giving an update on the recent meeting between, the women who now have their own little committee within the law firm after, the whole, hey, we want to sue, that kind of thing. And Tomas just gives him the quick notes, and it turns out he's being a pretty good asset, given the fact that instead of these radical changes to the firm, he suggests a, more smaller approach, because, small changes leads to the big effective changes in the long run. Things like, a complaint box and, counseling for anyone who's dealt with some sort of harassment. And Bill is thankful for it. And from there, he gives them a new task, which is to keep an eye on his family. And it's like, dang, Bill. It's like every time this character moves one step forward, he goes two steps back. It's like, really? And when he said his family, I immediately rolled my eyes and like, bro, you are not a Dupree anymore. But he's mainly focused on his daughters. And given the fact that you're dating Kat and Kat runs her mouth, perhaps, you're able to get any information out of her. Well, it's not like I know Chelsea and Naomi all that well. So how would I, get answers? You're a lawyer. And I love how he said that too, because based on the conversation later in the episode between Kat and Tomas, it makes sense. Sometimes the most obvious answer is right in front of you. Tomas, do what you do. And I do find it conflicting for him, obviously, because of the fact that it's almost like his pseudo relationship with Kat is being turned into yet another assignment by Bill. And keep in mind, if I remember correctly, Tomas asked Bill for his quote-unquote blessing to date Kat, even though Kat is no longer his niece. But Bill still looks at her like a niece because, heck, he's known her before she was even born. So it's one of those situations where Bill just can't let go. Even though he's no longer part of the family, he will use his resources to keep a tether or, some sort of link to them in some way, shape, or form. So Tomas agrees, and then ironically enough, that's when Kat shows up looking for legal advice, and he goes to brunch with her. And Bill's like, hey, remember what I talked to you about? Yeah, okay. So they're at the country club talking. And I love this scene a lot because Kat, and this is no shade to Kat. This is no shade to Kat. But to me personally, this is one of those things where Kat is a stand-in for people in everyday life who they think they're an expert at something just because they watched a few YouTube videos, listened to a few podcasts. All of a sudden, I can be a doctor. I can be a gourmet chef. Or in Kat's case, I could be a detective. And she pretty much says, you know what? I got evidence, this, that, and the third. So I can use this and take Leslie in. Yeah, Leslie can go to jail. Because ironically enough, at the diner, Leslie approaches Kat and talks about the restraining order, defamation of character, and basically stop dragging Detective Jacob into this. So, she pretty much scoffs at Kat's proof, and that's why Kat took it to the next level by going to the law firm to try to get legal advice. But Tomas tries to keep this, rather low key, and he slyly throws in a few questions. Well, have you talked to Naomi about this? Given that she's an attorney as well. No. Well, anything about Chelsea? No. Why do you ask? Oh, no, I'm just asking. And I like how he did that because he's using his lawyer skills to low key, see if he can get intel out of Kat in regards to this Leslie situation. But the thing is, every time she threw him a curveball, he had a counter to it. She even went so far as to ask him to create a case against Leslie, and he shoots it down. Wait, why not? And I love this scene because, like I said, people think they're experts, but when you actually have a professional, someone who went to school, someone who works in this line of business, it's like, well, what about the jacket? What about the ticket? And he shot it down. It's like, yeah, well, that might be Leslie's jacket. It could have her DNA on it, but there's no way they can identify her with the same jacket from the video footage. Well, what about a parking ticket that doesn't directly place her at the scene of the crime? Well, what about this? And I love how he had, hey, I'm throwing a right jab, I want to weave and then uppercut you. That was Tomas uppercutting Kat metaphorically or verbally. And then it got to the point where she's like, I hate this. And I love that moment because that was bratty Kat. And I love how the background people were like, wait, what's going on at that table? It's just one of those things where she thinks she's able to pin the crime on Leslie, but Tomas gave her a taste of, Kat, if we took this to the courtroom, the cross-examination would eat you alive. So you might be right about this. But the fact is, legally, there is nothing binding her to the crime. So as a result, that's why we can't do anything about it. So this was probably my favorite scene of the episode. Now, from there, the episode really is I know this part was what everybody was talking about. When Danny's on the phone and she turns around and Haley is right up in her face, coming over unannounced. Now, personally, I have nothing to say against this because how many times has Danny done the same thing at Bill and Haley's house? Because she has the code. Well, Bill never changed the code. Also, maybe I missed this, but did they explain how Haley just waltzed into Danny's home? What, is there no code? Was the front door unlocked or something? Because, yeah, I wouldn't do that. I mean, yeah, even if somebody like did that in my house, which I would not appreciate, by the way, pow pow. No, I'm just kidding. But it's just one of those things where, yeah, that was just childish. I ain't gonna hold you. I had to go back and rewatch the scene because everything happened so fast. I was about to just fall out of my chair because the way things move so quickly. Danny was on the phone. Haley popped in. Danny turns around. Haley is right in her face and she pulled out the pregnancy stick. I literally was about to say, I know she didn't come up in that house, had that stick directly in her hand. And then the moment Danny turned around, it was almost like that stick could have whacked her in the face because it was that close to her. It's like, haha, here's proof. But then this entire scene was basically Danny yet again denying Haley's pregnancy, going so far as to say, well, hey, prove it. Take a test right here in front of me. What? When did you get so crass or crude? Keep in mind, you were in my bed with my husband. I think we've crossed the line of being, crass and, nasty. So go ahead and do it. How about this? I'll take you to the hospital, blood test and everything. HIPAA violations. So yeah, Danny just refuses to believe that Haley is pregnant and then she leaves. Now, after that, we go over to Bill and Haley. Well, actually, yeah, over at Bill's office, the meeting between Bill and Naomi actually involves Haley because this quote-unquote meeting was to announce the baby. And Naomi is just like Danny, just feeling like, this is some bull. It's like, so you're smart enough to get a prenup. So apparently, Bill did get a prenup. But then she tries to rationalize the baby as some long-term scheme for child support, college fund, this, that, and the third. And, Haley somehow says or somehow believes that this baby will be a way for us to all be close and get together. Now, I ain't going to hold you. If I were in Naomi or Chelsea's position, or mainly Naomi, it's like, okay, my former best friend slept with my dad, causing my parents to divorce. And look, I get it. There are a lot of factors that have been stated in the show, such as Bill claiming that their marriage was dead a long time ago. But let's be real, Haley was the straw that broke the camel's back. So there's no getting around that. But my ex-best friend marrying my father and having a baby with him, if I couldn't stand my ex-bestie then, what the hell makes you think I would accept you after having a child with my father and this one being my half sibling? I wouldn't want a damn thing to do with any of you. So Haley is still on this people talk about Leslie, but Haley is low-key the most delusional character in this show. I said it. But in the midst of the back and forth, Bill starts to stutter and whatnot. And then, Haley and Naomi actually have a moment of bonding in regards to Bill because Naomi brings up his shaking hand, and then Hayes like, wait, shaking hand? When you dropped that fork at the country club, you just said your hand went numb. So yeah, he had a mini stroke, which we follow up in the next episode. So then the only other part to talk about, we have Andre talking with Ashley at the hospital. And, that's when he learns the situation involving, oh, well, we're back together, but we aren't moving in together anymore. And then Andre offers to get her, what was it, some breakfast or whatever. But that's when, or a shoulder to lean on. But that's when Derek comes in, no need. My shoulders are back for her to lean on. And then they kiss, and Andre is clearly uncomfortable. And he's like, oh, well, I hope I didn't overstep bounds with my advice. Derek's like, advice? What advice? And Ashley's like, oh, well, he saw me in Uptown. I was just, upset. This was after our big fight. And he pretty much, gave just solid advice. Like, yeah, any man that would leave Ashley is foolish. But, hey, clearly you're not in that category since, you two were able to work things out. And yeah, they're both happy. And it's like, yeah, I know our relationship doesn't seem conventional, but he's like, oh no, I've been all around the world and seen lots of couples, different relationships have different stories, and I'm glad you two are working that out. So he leaves, and kind of like with Danny, whenever she's upset and she would text Andre, that's exactly what happens here, where Andre gets to text Danny to come over to her house. Now over at the diner, Ashley and Derek are chatting about the situation. And Derek is kind of being macho about, Andre yet again puffing his chest out about being, world renowned and this, that, and the third. It's like, wait, I thought you two were getting along after you invited him over to dinner. It's like, yeah, we bonded over a few things. And, well, I'm glad he gave some solid advice because he actually helped us get back together. And next time we hang out, me, you, Naomi, Jacob, Andre, we'll get a supermodel or something for him. And from there, that's when Leslie pops in because her quest in the episode is to try to find any sort of link to the hospital footage. So she's asking Ashley about Laura's condition, but she's not giving up any intel. And then the whole thing about the camera footage where she's like, wait a minute, why are you so concerned about some camera footage? Because it makes it seem like you're nervous that there's something on there you don't want people to see. And she's trying to, get any information out of Ashley because Kat is running around, throwing this in her face and that in her face. So that's when Derek actually steps to her and it says, look, we're about to have a nice lunch and I'll move you if necessary. I lift people twice your size out of burning buildings before. And I think the funniest response to this is people online. And this is kind of true. I ain't gonna lie. Derek seemingly has way more chemistry with all the other characters than Ashley herself. I mean, like that one scene between Derek and Haley at the diner. Yep, there's some truth to this. And then Leslie is almost like she wanted Derek to, hoist her away on one shoulder and carry her out the front door. But then again, I don't know. So that was pretty much it for that scene. And then the final thing to talk about is Danny and Andre, where Andre comes over. He usually goes in for that kiss, but Danny doesn't want to hear it. She's basically mad about the past couple of times he hasn't come when she texted or called. But the thing is like, hey, what about all those other times I dropped everything I was doing? It's like one time I was busy doing something, the other time I was too exhausted. And Danny knows that it's someone else. It's like, okay, so who is it that you can't have that you want, and that's why you're distraught and why you come over here now? But then Andre claps back saying like, look, I come over and I told you why I didn't come the last time. And then what should be a moment between us, you automatically make it about Bill and she's upset about the baby. And Andre simply wants more than what they're doing. He wants he's changing. I want a real relationship. I don't just want these random hookups. And they have a big argument, because Danny yet again just kind of puts Andre in the same category as everyone else who tells her no. Oh, you're dumping me just like my husband. It's like, he dumped me for Haley. My daughter dumped me as her momager to do her own thing. And now you're dumping me too for someone else. And Andre's like, I'm sick of this. So that's pretty much what their scene is. And I love it based off what it leads to in episode 66. But folks, this was a very, very, very good episode. Like I said, a solid 8 out of 10. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.